Welcome to the Step Over podcast. My name is Josh. We're here with, dare I say it, a legendary figure in Ottawa footy. He's one of the capos and match day officers for Capital City Supporters Group, an elite athlete himself, a university soccer aficionado. I assume he sings and dances too. He does it all. Brandon Adibe. Brandon, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling really good, especially after that wonderful intro.
There's lots I want to ask, but first, I ask this for all my guests. What's your history with soccer? Like when you first started playing, like what did you play?
I remember, I remember vividly either being 2 or 3 years old, and I was seeing some of my friends play Timbit soccer,
Oh
but
yeah,
I had a late birthday, so I wasn't allowed to play that year, and I was like so mad. So I was like, hey, my dad, I'm like, yo, let me play. But it wouldn't happen until the next year. And then the next year, I finally was able to, and I tore it up. And
oh
then
yeah.
we lost in the finals because this one person, I remember till this day, was always like pulling my shirt, and there was no rest since it's Timbits. But yeah,
It's just dads.
of course. And they just let it go. They're like, oh, they're having fun.
Yeah. Okay, so you weren't, so you got into it right away. There was no like picking dandelions for you
Oh,
because there's always a few of those. I
yeah.
feel like my first few games, I might have been on the dandelion train.
Of course, that's a good time too. It's like you get to enjoy the environment. Like it's underrated.
It's underrated. It is. I agree. So do you have any like favorite players growing up, like a favorite team?
Ooh, I remember the first player I like sort of idolized was Ronaldinho. Like magical feet, his touch was incredible, and Barcelona. It was just like, wow, this is what football can be, and it's like he's playing with a smile on his face, and it's you don't see that with a lot of people playing sports, and I just stuck to it, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna like try to do these fancy skills, and then Messi came around with him. I'm like, this is amazing. Like, how can they be so technical and fast? And yeah, so it started with Barca, but my dad is a Tottenham fan, so I
Okay.
also adopted that.
Okay, that's fair. Do you have any players like because I know you play now still. Do you have any players that like you watch and you kind of see them make a move or like I make a sweep pass? Is there any like player that you feel like you kind of want to try and emulate a little bit?
Yeah, so there's one player I sort of feel like I emulate when I'm playing, and that's when he's healthy, Usman Dembele. So
Oh
I'm
yeah.
quite two-footed, I'm speedy, and have some skills on the ball. So it's like there's a lot of similarities there. We both have pace, so I'm like, I have this theory. I don't know if it's ever going to come to fruition, but like before the injuries, I was like, Usman Dembele for pure football, he might be better than Mbappe if like the trajectory goes the right way. But with all the injuries, didn't come to fruition. But I still
Fair
think
enough.
potentially with the right coach and Xavi's been putting in some work, potentially he can be up there and be world class.
Okay. Well, let's clip that and then we'll just that's your take for this episode, Mbele.
We're gonna have a lot of spicy takes, don't you worry.
So, you've been playing in Ottawa for a long time. Do you have a favorite field that where like, if there's a game scheduled at that field, you're like, that's my field.
Trying to think back to youth footy. There was some good tournaments at Ben Franklin. The fields were nice there. Gloucester had some pretty good fields. The Louis Riel Dome had good times in
That
the
one's
winter.
really nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, I'm gonna go Louis Riel.
I have
There
some
was
good
also
players that
nights
come out
where,
of Louis Riel too. So
yeah,
there's been some good history there.
like when you walk into the track, you see some of those players with their jerseys in not the Raptors, but like up top, and it's like, wow, if I was like a youth player there, I'm like, oh, I can make it. I could be like one of these people. So yeah.
And am I making this up? But did I see a picture of you with Joe David at one point recently?
Yeah, so
Okay,
actually at Louis Riel
we got to
might
talk
be
about
another
that.
reason I picked this. So I was with my team and it was sort of like not youth footy, but it was like between men's and like so that in between stage. So we're like preparing for a game. It's sort of like Sunday league, I guess you could say, because it was on always on the weekend. And this this weekend, or like that weekend in particular, I bust out from Barhaven all the way to Luriel. So I got there early. I'm like, okay, get some stretches in. None of my teammates are there, so I can't even like pass the ball with no one. One of my teammates comes in and he's like, I just start talking with him. And then another guy comes. He's like about like 5'9". And then my teammate goes, yo, do you know who this is? And I like look and I'm like, well, like not to offend you, but you look sort of like Jonathan David. And my friend's like, that is Jonathan David. I'm like, because I remember on that like Thursday, he was playing in Europa League. So I'm like, what's
How
this
is
guy
this
doing in
possible?
Ottawa? Yeah, how's this possible? And then like we introduced each other and it's like, wow. And then I really got like started warming up. I'm like, okay, we have a
Yeah.
game on again. That's good. But
That's
yeah,
so cool. So did you get the chance to like chat with them at all or
yeah, so after the game, everyone was a bit scared. It's like, who's going to be the first one to get a picture with
yeah,
him, right? And I'm
yeah.
like, it's not every day Jonathan David is in Ottawa, let alone you just got to play against him, and I scored that game. So I'm like,
What?
of course, we
So
did
you
end
scored
up.
against I guess so you can forever say you scored against Joe Davis' team.
Yes.
It's not bad.
Did we win? Maybe not. We
Who's to
lost
say?
one.
Who's to say?
Yeah. But he's if you ever play against him, you never see this on TV, but he like if you try to like body him, he's a rock. Like some of my teammates like tried to like nudge him off the ball,
Yeah.
and apparently he was just like so solid you got hurt if you ever tried. It's crazy.
That's fantastic. That's such a cool story to tell.
Mhm.
Um, okay. So for those who might be stumbling onto our chat, who maybe don't know what a capo is or what a match day officer is, what are those people like what do you do for CCSG?
So for CCSG, I do like to do some market inside of things. You'll see me on Twitter, maybe have some interactions with fans, we'll say. Definitely develop what's going on the media side. But for match day, me and my other co-MDO, Eddie Benin, will lead the chants. We create chants. Anything for fan atmosphere. We've been even during the preseason, we were going and like strategizing how we want things to look like. The flares, smokes, not flares, but everything on the match day, especially in the dub, that's sort of our responsibility, making sure everyone is safe in there. If there's any medical emergencies, we have first responders ready. So we sort of take everything that's on match day upon ourselves and the rest of CCSG, and we just make sure everything goes well. But I also lead chants, which is what you guys will probably see on the Instagram, the Twitter, all that fun stuff, and then the pictures. So we lead chants for the stadium, and people will join in, and it's a good time. We're rowdy but very respectful.
Well, yeah, because you and Eddie are like the faces of CCSG, and you've gotten some great pictures. And like I always think of one last year with you like screaming at like Powley
Yeah.
when he did the dub jump. Is that your favorite picture, or have there been some others? Because there's been quite a few good ones that I've seen.
Um, See, the Dylan one is so iconic. Like that was our first ever home game
I would
for
hate most
Athletic.
people who call a picture of themselves iconic, but you are 100% bang on. That is a absolutely I want that picture of you framed.
Yeah,
It's such a good picture.
it's so good. And oh my goodness. See, like watching it back on the One Soccer stream, and it's like, wow, this is a surreal moment, and they captured it.
Perfectly. Yeah.
Audrey also, like almost every game, if if you don't know, like Audrey Magny, her photography is top notch.
Oh yeah.
Every game she's there.
Like
You'll
she
see
must
like
be. I mean, I mean, she's getting to be quite well known, especially like over, over this season. Like she's gotten on with like Canada Soccer. She had some amazing pictures from the women's U20s and U17s. I think the U20s for sure. The U17s. Yeah, like fantastic photographer.
so good. Like if you guys listening, please go and check her out. She is amazing. And the ones for
And
Atletico,
podcast host Foot A Cafe. If we can just have a little shout out for the francophones here.
tellement bien or très bien. Yeah, I think that was definitely the most memorable one. There's been some this year where I'm like, wow, I'm definitely going to keep it on my phone, maybe make it a lock screen. Because I got a photo with my favorite player, Diego Espejo, also because of Audrey. So thanks again, Audrey.
Yeah,
But those two are definitely my favorites.
right on. And like Capital City Supporters Group, it's like I feel like it's changed the game for supporters culture. Like I would say in Canada for sure. Like there's no group like it. Have you like how did you get involved in the first place with them?
So at the start, Fury folded. So I used to go to some Fury games. I wasn't a big part of it. I would watch the games and I'm like, it's like you have like maybe 15 people on a good day, like chanting, having a good time. But everyone else in the section, it's just like in the other sections, it's like you sit down, you watch, not much going. Me, I'm a very energetic guy. I love seeing the people in Dortmund, in Fenerbahce, Besiktas having a good time. You're seeing flares, you're seeing people shirts off. Like this is their culture, this is their life. So Fury folds, and then a new guy in town by the name of Daniel Dejuff or J Daniel Duff. He comes along. He's he pulls me and Eddie aside. Well, he's messaging Eddie, and then Eddie brings me on, and then he tells us about how he has a nice British chap named Thomas Stockton. So we all come together, mostly those three. I was like, I still had some other stuff to do on the side. So those three were the founders. We talked at the Senate on Bank, which is an old Fury meeting place, and we talked about everything we wanted for when Atletico Ottawa becomes a team and when they finally come to Ottawa, because the first season, as we know, was in a bubble. So we didn't get to see them. But we planned so many different things, what we wanted to see, and the digital marketing was really what pushed us. And apart from other like fan bases and supporters groups who on the day you'll see them, they're present, but the grassroots that you're building, Daniel definitely took it upon himself to just everything on social media you'll see.
Yeah, like I think something that maybe doesn't get as much attention is like how much behind the scenes planning there seems to be. Like I've heard Daniel talk about a little bit that there's like a long-term plan. But like, everyone kind of sees the fun game day stuff. But it sounds like there's a like an established plan to make this sustainable.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
So Daniel is the head honcho of this. He's very organized, to the point. This is what we're doing. This is what's happening. And then we have our supporters have a chat, everything that goes through there. Has also got some nice memes and stuff, but everything is there. And then we have people helping, like Bryce Crossman's definitely stepped up this year. The
Unbelievable.
likes of Wally, which you guys can see, he has so many creative avenues that he just pulls out. But like we have so many people in this capital city supporters group that work together, and it's only going to get better during the following seasons because we're definitely shaping what Canada's soccer fan bases could be in the CPL, but also like the nation. So it's definitely
Yeah,
good.
like we've seen other groups kind of you can tell they feel like they have to step up their game because of CCSG.
Yeah. And
Um,
we're always trying to push that envelope even further.
right on. So coming off a big weekend with Atletico Ottawa, big Sunday coming up with a championship match at TD Place. As someone who leads the most passionate fans, you're chanting, push the team to the finals. What I'm saying is like you got us to the finals, and that this is the biggest match of your life. Are you doing any training or like any capo exercises to get yourself ready for the big game?
Ooh. So we all did this together. Though you can't just put it on me or Eddie or Daniel, but everyone in the dub is going to be ready and going for it. But me personally, I'm gonna think of some extra chants because I always like to spice in a little ones that aren't on our chant Bible, which you can find on Capital City supporters. But I like to watch Dortmund fans, Feyenoord fans, all the fans from Europe, South America, see what I can incorporate for myself, bring the charisma, and probably rest up the voice because it takes a beating on those game days.
It's the last one, right? You can go all out,
Yeah,
and then
of
you got the
course.
off
I won't
season.
be speaking after that.
Yeah, are there any chance that you've had that like either you haven't had the chance to try or like haven't worked for some reason, or are there any that like haven't worked as much as you would have liked, or like haven't done as much as you would have liked?
Yeah, so we actually tried this year to bring in some more not bilingual, like multicultural chants. So like French, Spanish. We have a few French and Spanish already, but we wanted to try one that's pretty notorious in France. I believe it's in Marseille chant, and it's called Ozalm. It's like a call and repeat. For some reason, we have like a very big demographic of French speakers in the dub, and they know it. But for some reason, it didn't catch on with the rest of the dub. So we've only pulled it out maybe about 4 times, and it's had varying success, which sort of sucks because it's like a battle chant. It's like you're going into war, you're ready to go. But unfortunately, it didn't work out. So might have to rework it or just stick to our other chants.
Or just keep trying, just trying to hammer it in, and eventually people will get it.
Yeah, it might like it's such a good chant. And I guess maybe the finals is the day to bring it out. We'll see.
Right on. Yeah, so like being a capo, the guy in front leading a crowd in song. I always think it's kind of cool because it's kind of like being the lead singer in a band. Have you ever been in a band?
Oh, no, I haven't, but I do know how to play like a couple instruments. I can't sing. Do not get me to sing, but
Is that the next step though? Are we bringing in? Are we like? Are we bringing more instruments into the dub next season? Is that the next step?
to be honest, that was not a bad shout. We have seen some tambourines. Someone had a bongo at this past game, so who's to say no?
Who's to say no? Um, like, do you feel like that you've evolved as a capo, or like, learned like what works and what doesn't, like as you lead chants?
Yes, for sure. Like I was actually thinking back to the first game, that one where Dylan Pally jumped up in the dub, and I was remembering today that like I remember turning to Eddie, my co-capo, and it's like, wow, it's 18 minutes in and we went through all of the chants we had planned. So it's like you have to know the timing, when to pull out certain chants, when to get people going if we concede, which happened a lot last season. How are we going to bounce back and get people from being down to automatically straight back up? It's learning about those finite, minute, like different timings getting different chants ready and just planning before, or if this happens, how are we going to respond? Sort of like Cargo is managing. We have to manage in the dub as well.
Are, like, would you say that there are any like reliable chance that say there's a bit of a lull and you're like, okay, we got to pull out this one because that's going to get people going again. Are there any go-tos for you?
Yeah, so we have a couple for exactly that, like when there's a bit of a lull in the crowd, simple things that maybe it's just clapping like ATO, ATO. And that's for the people who aren't like as passionate in the dub, you can still hear that and be like, oh, I could clap along. Like I might
Yeah.
not know the words, or hey, oh, let's go. And then you just keep going. Something that fills the time, but it's also like we can ramp that up too as well. It can get pretty intense.
For the people in the sections like beside the dub. So what I usually do is I have season seats in like section S. But I usually spend like the first half hour in the dub and then I kind of move to my seats. And I've noticed that um like this season more than any either last season or like more than any Fury season, like the crowd is a lot more engaged. Like have you found more participation outside the dub this year or no?
Yeah, for sure. Especially the sections right beside us, which would be X and V, I believe.
We
Yeah,
know our
one on each
alphabet,
side.
right?
Was that?
So we know our alphabet, right?
Yeah, of course, of
Yeah,
course.
that does sound right.
So we've had like some people who've been in the dub also sit in those places, and then sometimes they just have fans who are like, "Oh, this is interesting. I'm not too sure how to do it." And then you got guys like Bryce who actually took it upon themselves to make chants on like Bristol boards go over and be like, "This is what we're saying.
I took a
If you
video
want
of
to
that. That
join
was
in."
fantastic.
Yeah,
It
it's
worked.
huge. And it worked. And you have other sections right beside us now learning. So even when they're not in the dub, they're learning and they're participating. So this season, that was a huge component and it really helped get other people involved. Also, chants like Shalala and when we do the Viking clap, super easy to learn and they're engaged as well.
And at the semifinal game, South Side stand up. I will say you got about 80% of the South Side up.
Yeah.
So yeah, for the final, I think we're gonna get the whole thing.
Even get some north side in there. You never
Why
know.
not? Yeah. Okay. So not only are you a soccer guy, but you're also an ultimate player. Can you tell the good listener like a bit about your ultimate career and especially maybe how this past year has gone for that part of your life?
Yeah, for sure. So as you said, I'm a frisbee player, an ultimate frisbee player. I'm pretty new to it because I transitioned from soccer pretty late, but I play on the semi-professional team in Ottawa, which is the Ottawa Outlaws. They play in the American Ultimate Disc League, or AUDL for short. We play our games at Carleton, and last season we played only against Canadian teams because COVID wouldn't allow us to play over the border. So we played against Montreal and Toronto a bunch of times. And this year was the first year a lot of players on the team were allowed to play in the States. So the borders opened up. We have so many new youngsters on our team. So it was pretty new for us. My first season when it was called the Canada Cup when we played against Toronto and Montreal. I won Rookie of the Year, which was a great
No
achievement.
big deal.
Yeah, it was all right.
That's fine.
So yeah, I play and it's pretty nice. We play against a bunch of different teams. Some players in the league are a bit more well known, like MKBHD, if you've ever heard on YouTube. He has millions of subscribers. He plays on New York, which is like they're the best team. They are the Galacticos. They buy the best players. They went undefeated in our season, and we were the only team to beat them in a half. So
Wow. Okay.
yeah, so Ottawa is a pretty. We're still young, we're still learning, but our team is going to be on the rise in a few years. So I am one of those young players looking to emerge.
Right on. Um, and am I wrong, or like did I hear that there's going to be like an AUDL video game?
Yes, there's actually one in production right now, and
So are you going to be in a video game?
I will be in a video game.
So people could play as Brandon Adibe.
Yes, you can. It
Holy
is
smokes.
still in its beta right now, but it will be ready by next year.
Wow, that's cool. So is that going to be like Xbox, PlayStation, or like what's that going to be on?
It's definitely going to start on computer,
Yeah.
like PC, and they are speaking of bringing it to consoles, so like Xbox and PlayStation, the big ones. So if you want someone with like 99 speed, you know where to find me on AUDL, the game.
Fantastic. Okay. So before I let you go, win or lose on Sunday, win, obviously. I'm sure some beverages will be had. But after that, like what comes next for you? Like any big project coming up with you and CCSG, like any personal events or projects, anything like that?
So hopefully, I something we did last year was we previewed a bunch of players in the university who might go in the CPL draft. I
Yes, we
am
did.
hoping we link up again and then produce something amazing, because I think last year it got a lot of eyes to it, and not many people knew different people around the country. So we were probably one of the best scouting resources for people just watching, and maybe even some teams in the CPL.
That's what I've heard. At least there was definitely some League One Ontario teams that made use of it, and I'm down to do it again if you are.
I'd love to. And I'd even like to also like open it up to the women's side of things, because although they don't have a draft, it would be nice to see who the next up and comers are, if
I was
possible.
thinking that too. Like it would be great to do like a top 10, top 20 list of your top women's of the top women's players, because there are some players who are definitely going to go pro
Yeah,
for sure.
100%. Oh my goodness. Like watching it in person, and you can already tell like, oh, this player is going to go far. They might be on the national team in a few years. And it's like, wow, I got to watch them in university. It's a nice feeling.
Okay, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Who is one player on the women's side that you think is one to watch for like a future pro career?
Ooh, Cassandra Provost or Provo on the GGs. She is amazing, star striker. She can hold up the ball. She has skills for a tall striker. Knows how to bring their teammates into it. Scores at will. She broke the U Ottawa record for goals in a season, and they're about to be in the playoffs. And they just won in the Americas, so it's like she's ready to go. Also, underrated, not as highly known, but center back Maya Smith. She's every time I see her play, it's a clean sheet. She's got like 8 interceptions and 12 headers won. It's crazy to watch.
The GGs are absolutely stacked. Like they and like they're so and like so they're carrying extra players this year because they just won the FISU Americas Championship, beating the top team from Brazil. And at the same time, they had, you know, uh, like the rest of their players, like still great players, but had, they still had to play a game against RMC, and they managed to get a point out of that. While their top squad wins this other tournament, and I guess that qualifies them for the next FISU World Cup. Like I think people, especially in Ottawa, don't realize like what a special program they have there. And like the Ravens have a great program too. Like we're quite lucky to have two great women's programs. But the GGs is such a like destination, it seems like, for players who want eyes on them, you know? Like there are
Yeah,
several players I think who are gonna be professional like within a few years at
for
most.
sure. Especially if we could like get professional Canadian league, they're gonna be filtered into it. Some of them already play League One Ontario. I believe some play in Quebec also.
I
So
think so, yeah.
so
Cassandra Provost, I think, was with AC Laval, I believe, and was their top scorer. I think she may have won the Golden Boot in the PLSQ.
that doesn't surprise me for
Yeah,
even a second.
yeah. I think so correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that she's actually the top scorer in U Sports across men's and women's divisions. So
Last time I
she was
checked,
definitely
that
going to be my like that would have been my answer as well. But yeah, there's quite a few in Ottawa who actually for the Ravens. I think this is Chloe Doherty's last season, and she seems like I don't know what her plans are, but she seems like someone who a lot of coaching professional sides would really like to have.
yeah, she's also stepped it up this year. Like last year, Carlton did play a bit more defensively, but this year she's been such a spark going forward. She's been creating more, and it's like, wow, this is nice to see from Carlton. Like you were saying, two great programs. They might not have as many, like, how would I phrase this? They might not have like the same recognition as the players on U Ottawa, but they are still very capable
I
soccer
feel
players.
like I feel like the Ravens like source most of their players locally from Ottawa, whereas there's a lot more like players from like Toronto or like out east and like kind of Montreal area who come to GG's. So it's like it's always fun when when those two play because it's kind of like a David versus Goliath, but the Ravens they usually play them pretty tight. Do
Yeah,
you think they should be so I brought this up before. Do you think there should be a panda style game for GG's Ravens?
oh my
Women's
goodness,
soccer.
without a
TD Place.
doubt. I hope it's at TD Place
It
because
would
I
have to
went
be
to
like
the
that,
U.
like it has to be an event.
Hmm. Like it deserves an event too. I went to the one at U Ottawa and they packed the stands full, and it's like we probably could have used a bigger venue with some marketing. You already know people are going to show up. Like this,
Absolutely, yeah.
they had a rivalry for different sports, and that one probably, I'm pretty sure, brought out the second most fans between the two games.
Yeah.
So, other than football, it's the perfect sport. It's especially in Ottawa where there's Fury fans, there's fans of universities and different cultures. So it's just a perfect mix. You should definitely capitalize on it.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we're gonna push that. And but for now, I think our time is up. So Brandon, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me on.
Right on. And we'll see you Sunday at the championship game.
Vamos, Atleti!
Vamos, Atleti!